The following conversation is one that I had with somebody from my past, Robin Odegaard, also known as Doc Robin or Dr. Robin. And she is a prolific writer, speaker, and thinker. Not only do we catch up on what's been going on in our lives, but we talk about some of her latest projects. I'm happy to introduce you to Dr. Robin Odegaard. Enjoy. Today, I'm going to be having a conversation with my longtime friend, Dr. Robin Odegaard. We've known each other for, well, it's been over a decade, I believe. Definitely
Wow.
that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
We met at a networking event many years ago, I believe, in Lambertville, New Jersey. And I know that because I think I have a picture of you and I, and you're holding a book. What was the name of that book? Like something?
10 years ago, it might have been the Stop the Drama book.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
it.
that was my first book, Stop the Drama, The Ultimate Guide to Female Teens. Yeah, there's been two more since then.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, we'll talk about those as well. So, well, welcome to the show. Welcome to my audience. I have about 90% men, 10% women. All are very opinionated, growing people. I have very few spectators in my audience. Everybody is a participant. And altogether, on one of the platforms will be about 140,000. The other platforms will be about another 40,000. So that's something that I've built in the past 4 years. And as I'm going through my mental history of people who I would believe would be good guests, how are you making it through this whole face mask culture, COVID days?
You know, it's a funny question because if you had told me, I am extroverted, like to an extreme. And if you had told me back in January, February that I was going to be basically locked in my house except for like riding my bike and walking around the neighborhood, I would have told you, no way, I'm not going to function. That's not going to work. I am doing surprisingly well. And part of it is because I do a lot of virtual work, like I work virtually. So I'm used to this platform, be it Skype or Zoom or whatever. And I'm finding that my friends have more time now to Skype and Zoom. And so I spend a lot of time catching up with people. And I do, I don't know a lot of people that do this, but I do periodically go through my phone contacts and just say, is there anyone that I have forgotten to check on? Someone that I should reach out to and say hi. And so I do that on a regular basis, and I'm having a ball talking to, business is down and it's all of that. Yes, but I'm having a great time talking to my friends.
Yeah, it's a good time of catching up. One of our conversations, I believe it was last week, was about eating during lockdown and quarantine. And I think you have something to say about nutrition and eating during times like this. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so since you and I kind of were really, our lives were more intertwined than they are now, I've gotten older, happens to the best of us. And my body started not behaving as well as I'd like it to. I was a competitive beach volleyball player. I've always been really active. I've always thought that I ate well. But a few years back, I'm gaining a little weight, getting a little soft around the middle, and it didn't make me very happy. So I started doing some research. I actually first went to my medical doctor, and she told me I should see a psychologist about my body dysmorphic disorder. And I told her, I am a psychologist. I don't have body dysmorphic disorder. I'm actually getting fat. So I started doing some research to try and learn, what's the ideal way? What can I do? And basically what I found, and this is not profound, is that better nutrition leads to better health. And nutrition generally comes from eating fruits and vegetables. Your mother tells you this, you know this. And the more research I did, the more I learned that I really needed to incorporate more fruits, more vegetables, more plant starches into my diet. And I started moving that direction, and I started feeling better and better. And I completely accidentally ended up plant-based. Did not mean to end up plant-based, but that's what happened. And I'm finding being in quarantine, and obviously I'm not able to go to the gym, although my husband and I have turned our house into a gymnasium. We run up and down the stairs and whatever. Making sure that I get that nutrition, I eat on the right circadian rhythm for my body. I, do some intermittent fasting. It's really helped me maintain my weight, maintained my good mental health, because nutrition is really linked to mental health. It's really made a difference for me.
Yeah, and you have some academic background. some type of studies at Cornell. Is that correct?
Yeah, so when I started doing research, I basically went into the world and was like, who has nutritional studies that I can do? And I took classes from courses all over the world. The University of Scotland had some, so I got a lot of different like individual, let me get some classes. But I actually went to Cornell. They have a Center for Nutrition Studies where they actually have a course where you take the whole course and then you get a certificate at the end. So I went to there and did their Center for Nutrition Studies course on plant-based nutrition.
Oh, how nice. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, how does nutrition play a role in mental health? I talk quite a bit about mental health, having spent 22 years in the field as a therapist myself. It's a big interest of mine. Tell us about the connection between how we feel, how we think, and what we put into our bodies.
Well, so the mind-body relationship, a lot of people think that their brain is up there doing its thing and it has its neurotransmitters and it's completely separate from the rest of the body. And that's not true. A lot of your serotonin, which is a chemical that, kind of a happy chemical, is in your gut. And when you have a gut feeling, that's legit. It's a gut feeling. And if your gut isn't happy, your mind isn't happy. And I mean, everybody has that experience where you eat something, maybe you eat an entire pizza and then you just feel lethargic and you don't feel energetic and that's obviously your brain is kind of trying to work through all that fat, sugar, and salt that you put into your system. Conversely, if you put really good nutrition into your system, and including the fiber, I know Americans don't get nearly enough fiber, it helps your gut move, it helps your gut be healthy, and that gives you energy and is going to obviously make your mental health better as well.
Yeah, I about 2 years ago, I stopped drinking beer. I think I've had 6 beers in the past 2 years. And I had one last weekend, and I actually felt okay. But the prior 5 beers, I actually felt like I went to a carb coma after having a beer. And I enjoy microbrews, and I made the move to enjoying just high-end little shots of things. And I say that I transitioned from drinking for effect, come home, have a couple cocktails to relax. Mm-hmm. I don't do that anymore. So my alcohol consumption has more to do with sipping, mm-hmm. and I drink taste, mm-hmm. rather than trying to relax. I can relax easily on my own. I've taught myself that. And I never experience that coma when I have a nice high-end bourbon. But give me one beer in a pint glass, holy cow, I want to take a nap for 2 weeks.
Well, and it's interesting, you call it the carb coma. It's not the carbs that are a problem. It's that they're processed, easily accessible carbs. My diet is 75 to 80% carbohydrates because I'm plant-based, so I eat a lot of carbs, but I'm lean, I'm active, I don't have to feel the need to nap in the afternoon. It's more the fat that makes you feel that way. And if you eat really processed carbohydrates, which a lot of Americans eat a lot of processed food, those are super easy. They get into your body really fast. They spike your blood sugar, which spikes your insulin, and then everything crashes. And that's what people call a carb crash. But if you're eating whole food carbs, where you're eating whole beans, whole potatoes, whole grains, you don't have that because the fiber helps mitigate that issue. But in processed food, all the fiber is gone. It makes it easy to get it into your brain. And the industry has a thing called the bliss point. Have you ever heard the bliss point? Do you know what that is? So that's the exact point, the exact balance of salt, sugar, and fat, where your body says, give me more of that. I need those calories because there's going to be a famine. And it turns off your brain's ability to say, I've had enough. And it turns on what's called the cram function. And the cram function is put as much in there regardless of how full your stomach is. And so most people, because they eat so much processed food that is at that bliss point, spend their lives in cram, where their body can't say, I've had enough. That function isn't functioning correctly.
So is that when I eat a pint of Haagen-Dazs and a whole bag of kettle cooked chips?
That's exactly right. And what happens, you may have experienced this, is you ingest all of these really fast, high calorie foods, and your body processes them, and then your body goes, wait, I'm hungry. And the reason your body says you're hungry, even though you just ate all of those calories, is because they're empty calories. There's no nutrition in it. So if your body had the ability to say, great, you gave me all those wonderful calories, I can stick those on your hips for you, but I need some nutrition. Can you give me some nutrition? it would tell you that, but it can't. The only thing your body can say is, I'm hungry. And so if you're not getting good nutrition, you're going to constantly feel hungry, even when you're eating a whole lot of fat, sugar, and salt.
You said something. You said it goes to your hips. Now, obviously, I don't know a lot of men who talk like that. When I talk about putting on weight, it really comes to my belly.
Spare tire.
Is that normal male female biology, where women put it on in certain areas that are different than men?
There is a certain gender divide in the way weight distributes. Typically, yes, women put it on their hips and their butt, and men will put on a spare tire. I'm one of the unfortunate women on the planet where I get a spare tire. I don't get it in my hips and butt like a lot of women do. But typically speaking, yes, there is a gender divide in the way that weight kind of sets. But it also goes everywhere. Like, you can't spot lose weight. You also can't spot gain weight. So, yeah.
I know people that have, they brag about having a 33-inch waist, but they have a 40-inch stomach. And with men, they cinch that belt up, but that belly just kind of is going over the belt like 3 or 4 inches. It's almost ridiculous,
And that's dangerous fat, because that's the visceral fat that's in and around your organs, and it makes your organs work harder. The overall body fat isn't healthy, but it's not dangerous. Visceral fat, that beer gut that we think about, is dangerous weight to carry. It's really hard on your system.
Yeah, that is true. You've heard the phrase, it's not how much you weigh, it's how you look naked. Is there any truth to that?
So weight is an interesting piece of data, but it doesn't tell you a lot, because you could be really muscular and lean and weigh a lot, or you can be completely chunky monkey and weigh a lot. So there's a lot more to it than just the number. I do encourage people to weigh themselves, just because it is a data point and it does give you information, but I don't want people to live and die by that number. I don't think that it's not the data point, it's a data point.
It's funny, I'm wearing a Fitbit, and I have a scale that I step on every day, which I probably shouldn't, because it's probably feeds into my body dysmorphic disorder. I'm just joking about that part, but I am I take my Fitbit off at night. I learned that there is a condition called orthosomnia, where you get obsessed with your sleep stages throughout the night. And you look on your phone, you see, okay, I was in alpha sleep, REM sleep, from 2 to 3, and then from 3 to 5. And I got so obsessed with it, I'm like, screw it. I took off the Fitbit. I only put it on during the day, and I just want to know my steps, and that is it. So I'm really not interested in my sleep patterns. I'm more interested in how many hours I get, and I'm happy with 7 to 9 hours. But stepping on the scale can create some obsessions with people. I have the kind of scale, you step on it, it gives you your weight, your BMI, the weather for the day, the steps that you took yesterday. And again, that's another obsessive kind of thing. But my BMI says that I'm obese. But I also know that I lift weights and I'm a very solid guy. They don't take lean body mass into account with BMI.
BMI, again, is just a data point. And it's interesting because I'm tall and I'm lean. I have small bones. So on the BMI chart, I'm kind of almost not healthy on the bottom end of it. Whereas my husband, who is a former competitive bodybuilder and trainer on the Mr. Olympia tour, he's barely in the healthy range on the high end of it, because he's thick. He's a big guy. So BMI, again, another interesting point, but only data. A better measure of whether you're healthy or not is your waist to hip ratio, or your waist to height ratio. Those two things are better. If your waist is more than half of your height, you're probably carrying unhealthy weight.
Okay.
And I don't mean your waist underneath your belt, like you were talking about, where you put it under at your belly button, measure your waist to your height. It should, and I mean, the numbers vary a tiny bit between men and women, but that's a general rule. Your waist should be no more than half of your height.
I'm pinching right now about 1.5 inches to 2 inches on my spare tire. And I know, and that's right at belly button level. What is the best way to get rid of that?
So the easiest way, and you're not going to like this answer, is to give up animal products.
Don't tell me that.
I know. Most people don't like to hear it, but so here's my story. I grew up on a beef ranch. I grew up going to the dairy to get milk. We drank 14 gallons of milk a week as a family. I drank whole milk. Like, I mean, I'm hardcore. I have a brother who's a veterinarian. I have another brother who owns a dairy. So trust me, when I went on this journey for nutrition, plant-based was not on the radar. That was not the plan. But I had 20, 25 pounds of extra lovin' fluff that I was carrying around, and I wasn't happy with it. I wanted my volleyball body back, and I am now back at my volleyball weight. But when I first started, before I went on the journey of learning about nutrition, I tried all the diets, I did all the things, and they didn't work. Like it was frustrating. I was crabby, I was hungry, and it didn't work for me. And when I started moving toward plant-based, not even went plant-based, started moving toward plant-based, suddenly the weight started to just trickle off. And so I tell people, don't go 100%. I'm not telling you, you have to be plant-based 100%. No, just start adding more real nutrition to your diet and you'll be surprised what a difference it makes for you. If you can get to 80% plants, you'll be shocked how much better you feel, how much inflammation goes away, how that annoying blubber, fat, weight, chunky, whatever you want to call it, just kind of goes away. You'd be shocked.
What are the implications for food shopping then? You come into the supermarket, what do you do then?
So for me, I do dried beans just because they're easy. But if, a lot of people are like, I don't want to soak them, I don't want to cook them. Canned beans are fine, whatever kind you like. I personally, I don't like big beans like lima beans and kidney beans. I don't like the texture, so don't eat those. I eat lentils and black beans and navy beans. Beans are a great source of food. Another thing, starches. Get your whole grains, and that's your oatmeal. I eat oatmeal for breakfast every day. It's 1,000 calories between the oatmeal, the seeds, and the fruit that I put in it. People look at me, they're like, you eat 1,000 calories for breakfast? I do, absolutely, every day. So get your whole grains. That's going to be your quinoa, your brown rice, your teff, whatever whole grains you like. Those are going to be a great source of starch. Potatoes, sweet potatoes, amazing food. Eat some sweet potatoes. And then you're going to want your aromatics, which are going to be the things that add flavor, which is, your carrots and your celery and your onions and your garlic and whatever you like. But there are over 20,000 plants on the planet that are edible by humans. Find some. You'll be amazed. I learned recently that there are some foods out there that I've never tried that, you know what? I like that food. Fennel is the latest one that I'm like, I really like fennel. Never had fennel before.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I remember, it's got to be 10 years ago, close to 10 years ago. We went to a friend of mine's restaurant. He's Tunisian, and I remember the Tunisian cuisine. It was a lot of vegetables. There was hummus. There was a lot of roasted mushrooms and things like that. Mm-hmm. I won't forget that because he was he was roasting everything. And of course, Tunisia is the northernmost country in Africa. And there were more roasted vegetable things on the plates than there was meat. Mm-hmm. Comment on the different kinds of world cuisine and who you think has a great diet or an ideal cuisine to follow.
So that's an interesting question. The richer a country gets, the worse their diet gets.
Interesting.
Because the idea that, steak is what rich people eat. It's what, people, if you go, and I know you've done this, you go out to dinner with executives, where they take you? A steakhouse every time. It's yes. It's very much a show of wealth, a show of power, of prowess is the steak. And meat in general is that way. If you go into a culture where they don't have a lot of meat, one of the most, what's a good word, honoring things that they can do for you is kill a chicken. So meat is considered powerful, important. And so the richer a country gets, the worse their diet gets as far as human health goes. Whereas the people who are the plant eaters, they're eating a lot of fiber, they're eating a lot of grains. They're actually going to they die of diseases that are acute things, like they get injured or like they have acute problems. The richer a country is, they have chronic problems, which is, things like heart disease, diabetes, high cholesterol, blood pressure, et cetera, strokes. Heart disease and strokes are kind of the same thing, just they happen in a different place. The first canary in a coal mine for those things is ED. Your audience might be interested in that. And I can tell you that eating plants will fix your ED. Give it a try. So yeah, that's an interesting thing about moving toward being plant-based. The poorer countries eat better and don't have the chronic issues. But COVID is turning chronic disease into an acute disease right now because those underlying issues are obviously causing a problem. Yeah.
It seems like those that are most vulnerable right now tend to have risk factors like obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, those kinds of things, which are completely controllable.
Completely diet related. Yep, absolutely. And the interesting thing is I see a lot of people saying, well, COVID only is only bad for people who have underlying disease. What they don't realize is 3/4 of Americans have underlying diseases.
Yeah.
If you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, which pretty much everybody over 40 in the United States does, you have an underlying disease. You're going to get marked up. Oh yeah, you died because having an underlying disease doesn't mean you are on death's door.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people think that when they think about underlying diseases and dying from COVID.
Right. I have a nice variety of people in my audience, from carnivore to keto to plant-based to vegetarian, vegan, whatever, and everything in between. And I think certain things work for certain people. I don't think there's a one size fits all. What are your thoughts about the whole one size fits all eating plan? What do you think?
Well, so there is a scientific data that says this way is the healthiest way for humans to eat. But there's also a whole mental aspect to food. I mean, food is part of our culture. People are, I kind of jokingly say we're taught from very, very little that if I'm upset, I should put something in my mouth. I mean, how often do we stick a pacifier in a baby's mouth? And so as adults, that becomes I should either smoke or I should eat, neither of which are very good habits to have. So the best diet, and I say diet not in as go on a diet, but diet as in what you eat, is the healthiest thing that you can stick to. And unfortunately, for a lot of people.
Oh, wait a second. Say that again.
The healthiest thing
is
the healthiest thing that you can stick to.
I like that.
Because unfortunately, a lot of people eat like they're college freshmen. And pretty much anything is better than eating like a college freshman.
Yes.
So, when I work with people, when people hire me specifically for nutrition reasons, I don't tell them, let's overhaul everything. Let's change your pantry, empty your fridge, because they're not going to stick to that. There's just no way. Humans can't make that kind of huge change in their diet that rapidly. So instead, I'll try something like, make your regular plate, but instead of setting it so the protein faces you, because if you think about it, when we used to be allowed to go to restaurants, they would set a plate down and the protein would be facing you and the potato and the vegetable would be at the top of the plate, and people would eat all of the meat because that's what they paid for, and they would leave the vegetables. So instead of that, turn the plate around, eat the vegetable and the starch first, and then add protein. When I say protein, I mean animal protein. Obviously, all plants have protein, but I'm talking about animal protein. The other thing is, don't layer your vegetables with fat. If you add butter to your broccoli, you've just ruined a perfectly good vegetable by loading it with empty calories of fat. So, try to avoid, those are little changes that people can make.
Very, very good practical advice. Yeah.
Yeah, and then start understanding nutrition. I think a lot of people get their nutrition in the form of marketing from big food, and that's really unfortunate because big food does not care about your health at all. Their job is to make their shareholders money, and so that's why the bliss point is a thing. That's why turning on the cram function is a thing. The more you eat, the more they make. So don't take your nutritional advice from marketing.
What does the future hold for Dr. Robin Odegaard?
Well, there's a lot of little irons in the fire that have changed since this lockdown thing. I have a webinar out, the No BS Guide to Succeeding Forever at Being Plant-Based. So I have a webinar out for the Whole Food Muscle Club, so that's going on. I also am in conversation with someone who runs think tanks and masterminds for CEOs and business owners and executives, who's asked me to come on and start doing some facilitating. So and that's very, very new. We're just in the beginning stages of that conversation, but I do love facilitating conversations with smart people. One thing that I have, and you may have seen my post recently, one thing I have run into with COVID-19 and not having the conversations with my clients that I have in the past is intellectual loneliness, that I miss those almost philosophical discussions where you're problem solving and you're trying to put pieces together and you're trying to connect the dots. I miss those conversations. And so I'm really hopeful that being a facilitator of a think tank will kind of fill that void for me.
Yeah, I've had more Skype and Zoom meetings in the past 2 months than I've had in the past 5 years.
Yeah, I hear you. My business has been online forever and ever, but I too have had a substantial greater number of Zoom and Skype and phone and any other Facebook, whatever that video conference they have thing and whatever. So yeah, a lot more of that.
So what advice would you give to my ladies? I have a percentage of ladies that follow me quite closely, comment on everything. They're active with the podcast. Talk to the ladies for a second about anything you want.
Oh boy, that really opens it up. So this has been an interesting topic, one that I've been talking a lot with my female clients and been doing some different chatting about. But how to stop emotional eating without giving up your favorite snacks. That is something that, I mean, men emotionally eat too, but women are more willing to admit it.
Yes.
So, you know, that and emotional eating, when I talk about emotional eating, I'm talking about eating because you're sad, eating because you're happy, eating because you're stressed, eating what Pavlovian eating, which is that eating out of habit. Oh, a movie's on, I should eat popcorn loaded with butter. And so one of the things that I like to ask people to do is when they find themselves eating, because most of the time we don't choose to go have a snack, it just happens. And all of a sudden we realize I'm having a snack or I had a snack. So what I encourage people to do as a first step is notice before you have a snack that you're having a snack, and then ask yourself, why am I having this now? Am I hungry? Is this a reaction to something? Is this a craving? Is this an addiction? Chocolate, cheese. Cheese is a huge addiction in this country. People think it's a healthy snack. It is not. It is saturated fat and coagulated. Bleh. Anyway, not a snack. So that's the first step to emotional eating, is kind of recognizing when it's happening. And I think the biggest thing to do that is change the way you go to get your food, whether, you know, change the shelf that it's on so you have to look for it, or change the container it's in, or do something that adds a little glitch in your habitual way of getting it that makes your body go, wait, what am I doing here? That's a great tip for kind of recognizing emotional eating when it's happening.
That's great. How can people find you? How can they find more about your work? Where would you like them to go?
So the easiest place to go, I have a really simple website called drrobinodegaard.com. And so it's DRROBYNODEGAARD. And I'm sure that you'll put it in the comments so they can, or the description, that's what it's called, right? The description, so they can find it. But that's the really simple, just who I am. And then it has links to like the Whole Food Muscle Club. And I think it has links to my LinkedIn and my Facebook, but that's kind of the main, here's Robin, this is what she does.
Excellent. Excellent.
Oh, and I guess I should mention the books are on Amazon. So if you want my books, you can just search my name on Amazon and they pop up.
Stop the Drama.
Yeah. So Stop the Drama, The Ultimate Guide to Female Teams. The second one is The Ultimate Guide to Handling Every Disagreement Every Time. It's a conflict resolution book. And then the third one is called How to Feed a Human the Whole Food Muscle Way. And it's a nutrition book.
Excellent. Well, thank you for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you. I've had fun chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been good catching up and doing this in real time. We didn't really have a chance to do a lot of catching up, so this was dual purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. Except I didn't get to hear very much about you and what's going on with you. You caught up with me. We have to do another one so I can catch up with you.
We'll do a part 2 then. That sounds good.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Robin.
Thank you.